You want to own your own business, or what do you want? Which isn't always the right answer. Some people have no interest in doing that. It comes with a lot of responsibility, but.
Tell them what we met about this morning.
Let's talk about how to start my company, doing custom rods and stuff. So.
Fishing rods.
Okay.
So he's a big fisherman, and so that's what he wants to do. He has this draw to custom fishing rods, and he got in with a good network of people, and so he's starting his own.
I love that.
And so what do we talk about this morning? What do we need to work on for you?
LLC and tax.
ID. And then how can people find you and shop from you? And then you got to figure out your logo, where to buy stuff, how to become a wholesaler. And then we're also going to meet with Chris Lamb this afternoon. What's he going to help you with? Line of credit and credit cards?
Credit, yeah. That's access to money.
Yeah. So
it's good, man.
Yeah.
Hey, at the end of the day, you buy low, you sell high, or create some sort of value by customizing these things.
Yep.
And then you create value out of nothing. Hey, welcome to another episode of Spill the Beans. Today I'm sitting down with my buddy Dan Tollens. He's a new Legacy Family Mastermind member, actually. Has a myriad of experience in property management, construction, house flipping. He buys and converts hotels into short-term rentals now. And not only that, but has like 4 kids, a bunch of dogs, travels around the country in their RV, and has a really cool lifestyle that they've built their business around. So excited to sit down with Dan and hear about how he's doing, what he's doing, and what it's like raising kids in an entrepreneurial household with a lot of stuff going on. So let's go and check it out. Dan Tollens, how are you, buddy?
Good, man.
Dude, excited
Appreciate
for you to
you
be here,
having me.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from Charleston, or where you were in Charleston, you're up in Wilmington, North Carolina now.
Right.
Just joined Legacy Family, but you got a whole bunch of people that you know here in town.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about how you became an entrepreneur. I like to understand the backstory of how people got to where they are today.
Yeah, so I guess it was about 15 years ago. I had left working for a real estate firm managing their fix and flip business, and that opportunity kind of ran its course, and took a job for an HOA management business over on Isle of Palms, and managed all these HOAs that are, Daniel Allen, IOP, Sullivan's, and that's where I ended up meeting my wife. She worked at the front desk, and I was managing communities. And we approached a year later, we approached our manager and said, "Hey, listen, we're having a really hard time surviving on $28,000 and $32,000."
Yeah.
And she says, "Well, why don't you start a landscape and janitorial service? They service all of these communities that you manage." And so we said, okay, work harder, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we start this business, changing out light bulbs and cutting grass and changing dog stations, and we were kind of subbing it all out. And then it got to a point to where I was like, I can just go sweep hallways and pick up dog crap and change light bulbs and wipe down handrails and make 4 times what I'm making and work 3 days a week for 4 hours. And so that was kind of our first taste of it. And so I started out, doing that, and my wife kind of stayed on. She was pregnant with him at the time, and it ended up being that we were now a threat to some of the other companies that our boss, she was turning on and getting kickbacks and all this. So I ended up letting my wife go, and she was 8 months pregnant with him.
Wow.
And then that kind of, really put things in perspective for us, and then all of a sudden we started getting termination letters for all of our contracts
From the management company?
From the management company. So we said, we had all our eggs in one basket. So we started reaching out to some other local groups, and then ended up meeting a guy who, he worked for a company. We were doing some stuff with him, and he ended up starting his own management, single family home management.
Okay.
And he said, "Hey, do you want to come be my contractor?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to." So it started with 10 homes that his father owned. And so we started doing all their turns and all their maintenance. And by the time we were done working with them, they had built that from 10 to over 750 single-family homes that we were in charge of all their maintenance and turns, and getting them ready, for the rental. So as we were kind of building that part, growing with them as they grew, we're having success. We're having 10-figure months, which for us, coming from somebody that was making $400 or $500 a week to
Yeah.
you know 30,000-40,000 a month was good, and we thought you know we were in a good place, and then progressively grew the janitorial and landscape company with other vendors in town, and then in that maintenance business turned into repair addendums for real estate agents, and that's kind of where I met your good buddy Caleb Pearson, who's
Yeah.
had a huge influence that he doesn't realize in our lives and their trajectory when he met Ashley, and kind of how things really, that was when things really hockey stick for him, was when you know they started you know dating and eventually working together, and her leaving you know the hospital system and accounting, and so you know we started as we were doing the maintenance business. Eventually got my contractor's license. I was just doing this all, you know, as a handyman, and became a licensed builder. And ended up meeting Caleb, I think, through basketball or something, and we started doing some of their flips, and you know, that relationship kind of ran its course, and you know, kind of saw something. I was like, you know, we need to get on the other side of this thing.
Yep.
And so while we're still doing that, then we moved from doing the little maintenance stuff to six-figure renovations, 100,000, the 200, the 300,000. Take the whole roof off and go up.
Yep.
And we were working for 4 clients at the same time. They were all friends, and all 4 of those ended miserably.
Oh man.
And I was like, holy cow, we got to start all over again. You know, we started all over when you know she was pregnant with him, and now this other relationship went bad, and then the stuff with Caleb kind of, again, he grew and outgrew us, and you know they went a different direction, and so for us, we just started really kind of reflecting on what was going on, and the relationships we had, and the people we were surrounding ourselves with, and ended up linking up with a guy, a real estate agent here, who he was connected with all the REO stuff. So he kind of was one of the top REO agents in town, and so they would call him and say, hey, we got this you know, foreclosure, you got a guy who can come in and fix it up. And so we would do that, and he said, hey, I kind of have an inside line on, we can start buying this stuff, and you just do it at cost, and then you know we'll sell it and we'll split it down the middle. I said, man, that sounds fine with me. You know, I got all the resources. And so we did the first one, made like 17, 18 grand in 3 weeks, and I was like, oh, I like this.
Yeah.
And so it went from doing 1 to like 10 to, you know, then we were doing, you know, 20 at a time, all different stages. And, you know, eventually got to the point where we were doing over 50 a year of single family fix and flips. And so, as you know, once that deal's done, that money's done. But it's a lot of money all at once. And so, yeah, we
So it
built
just
up.
depends on what you do with that money then, right?
Right.
Like, are you
Exactly.
spending it on something, or
Right.
are you saving it and then investing it in things
Yep.
that you can buy and hold, and build some long-term wealth? I think that's a thing that, you know, I either need to do this or I need to do that, or I think it's really important to have like quick money, fast money,
Yep.
and slow wealth, right? I think you need to be doing both of those things. People put all their eggs in this basket where they're just trying to make money all the time. They're not building wealth. What happened to me early on is I tried building wealth, but then I was always cash poor because
Right.
I didn't have any fast money.
Right.
And so like you need both of those things,
Yeah.
you know, like you need somebody who can bring in quick money, pay it every single, like stability and understanding that the bills are paid, and at the same time then build the long-term wealth and the long-term
Right.
fortune too.
And that's kind of right exactly where we are in this transition. So we did for 3 years, you know, doing 50 plus fix and flips a year, and you know, had a good group of wholesalers that was bringing us stuff first, and then we just decided, you know, it's time to start changing our environment. So and that was something I really took away from Caleb, was, you know, years ago, asking him, hey, what do you know, what's the kicker here? And he said, well, I'm in these masterminds that, you know, they're 25,000 a year, and at the time I was just like,
It's a lot of money,
there's no way I can do that.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
The first time you hear about how much those things cost, you're
Right.
like, who goes to these? Like,
Right.
only rich people. And then
Right.
you're like, well, you talk to everybody, and they got in, and it was like a leap of faith, right?
Yep.
Like, let me just write the check, and let's see what. And then there's these just quantum leaps forward in
Absolutely.
business that happen because you had the blind faith to just go there, and you went there with the intent of getting a return on your investment. So you're like, who can I do business with? How can we do things together? And you're like, oh, well, I just generated an extra $250,000
Yep.
directly from relationships in that group,
Yep.
because I wrote a check for 10, 20, 30 grand, and you know, what can happen in year 2? That's year
Yeah.
1. Year 1 usually,
Right.
it takes time for these things to sprout, for these things to grow, and then you're thinking like, what can happen in year 2 and 3 and beyond? And then once you realize the value in those things, it's like a no-brainer. You're like, how
Yeah.
much money can I put towards it? Because I know there's an ROI,
Right.
And the more I invest in it, then the more the return's going to
Yeah.
be too. So, yeah, man, it was night and day game changer. If there was like a definitive point in time that things changed trajectory for me, it was when I joined a mastermind.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's what we signed up with you. We're the group of people that you have, the culture that you guys have created, the value and content that people have access to, the weekly calls, all that. And then also, the affordability. I told you the first one, 25K, you guys have set up a great system that, you can do lump sum, or you can set up,
$1,000 a month.
Right.
So it
And,
doesn't break the bank.
And I think it's an extreme value. Also, your course that you guys are doing, and we wanted to be a part of that. I do business with Nate Hirschberg and Chris
Yeah.
Lamb and Dan Rivers and Jake Sullivan, and there's just
All the boys, yeah.
all the Kelly
Yeah.
Garrett does she funds
Yeah.
some of our stuff. So we're already in with that group. We want to spend more time with that group, and we've had great success. Continue to have great success working with those folks, and you're obviously the leader of that. So
Yeah, man. Well,
thank you for doing that.
I appreciate it. No, it's the cool thing about putting an organization together is like, the leader has to be very vigilant about who they're letting in,
Yeah.
right, and guard that, because that culture is so special. But the beauty of it is like, once you get the right people in there,
Yeah.
the magic creates itself, kind of a thing. It doesn't all have to come from me.
Right.
I can be, just kind of cultivate the setting, and then by putting the awesome people in the room, everything just kind of
Yeah.
comes together. And then again, my responsibility is just making sure that we maintain the no dipshit policy, right?
Right.
We can't let people in
Right.
who are just transactional takers and
Right.
ego driven. No, that's not who we are. That's not
Right.
who we vibe with. And so they usually spin themselves out anyways, because they realize they don't fit in that culture.
Right.
Or, there's been some people we've had to tap on the shoulder and say, hey, it's just not a good fit, not at this time.
Right.
And let me give you your money back, kind of a thing. And
Yeah.
so that, I take a lot of ownership over that and a lot of responsibility over that to make sure that we do maintain that culture. But yeah,
Yeah.
man, it's awesome. It's such good people, and as amazing as they all are at business, they're even better human beings,
Right.
which is what I take the most pride in. So
Yeah.
it's cool to see everybody win together. So I want to unpack a couple things from your story, one of which is several times a recurring theme that I heard was you had a lot of eggs in one basket with a certain provider,
Yep.
person, like whoever that individual is. You relied on somebody else doing their job for you guys to be able to make money, or relied on their business for you guys. How have you taken ownership over your own business now, right? And I'll give you an example. I used to flip houses, and when I flipped houses and I wholesaled houses, I got to find deals, I got to, renovate them, and then I got to sell them. But I was always subject to somebody else performing on their responsibilities, and that dictated my income.
Right.
And I couldn't stand it. It was super stressful. Is this person going to buy? Are they going to close on time? Are they going to try to retrade me at the last minute?
Yeah.
Are they, like all that kind of stuff where I didn't control it. As soon as I started buying and holding my own stuff and said, I'm not transacting this
Yeah.
stuff anymore. I'm just going to buy, and I'll be the buyer. I know I can perform. I know I'm not going to sandbag myself at the last minute, right?
Absolutely.
I know that it's one less thing that I had to worry about, and it was one more thing that I had control over, which then gave me more predictability and confidence in building my business. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
absolutely.
So what are some pivots and things that were epiphanies for you on that journey, and things that you've implemented since then?
I think just really integrating all the strengths that we have, right? So I work hand in hand with my wife. She's a licensed agent. She also does all of our staging, which we've now kind of stepped back out of that, and we now outsource that. So it's become more of a delegating and finding the right person to, just like with your businesses, you're better suited letting other people handle what they're exceptional at.
For sure.
And so that's kind of been our thing. So we have a construction business that only services our properties. We have a staging business that we really kind of tapered back from that. But if she were to continue, it would only be staging for our stuff. We're not doing anything for anybody else. We started picking up a ton of short-term rentals and inns, and we have, like I say, a management company that only manages our stuff. And so what that just came back to was,
So you have an internal management company that just manages your own property,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
and then also, part of the fix and flip, we started seeing how much money we were spending on trash, and so we ended up buying out a local provider, and so we have a roll-off.
Like a dumpster provider?
Yep. So we have a roll-off dumpster business. Funny story. So my partner in that is the president of a bank locally, and one of his former associates was meeting with a guy about trying to get him to give him some capital to grow his business. And the guy
Yeah.
said, I thought this was a different meeting. Like, I'm trying to sell. I want to be a landscape architect. So he texts my partner, and my partner looks at it and he texts me. He says, hey, you need to call this guy he's pitching on, and call him right now. I said, cool. So I call him. Hey man, I hear you're in the market to sell your dumpster business. And they were sitting together just like this. They'd be like, somebody call. He's like, how did you know when to sell? I said, the gentleman in front of you let us know that we're in the market for it, and we'd love to figure out a way to get you out of this. He said, I don't even know what it's worth. I don't know what I want. So it took 3 months of going back and forth, and we ended up saying, hey, listen, here's the value of your cans, here's the value of your contracts,
Yeah.
here's the value of your phone number, here's the value, all this. And we came to an agreement, and ended up getting that worked out. So we started with 27 cans, no truck. He kept the truck.
Are these like the 40-foot, 30-foot dumpsters,
Yep.
whatever they're? Yeah.
Yep. And so we started with 27 like a year and a half ago, and now we're at 200. We now have 4 trucks.
Wow.
Yep. And so there's a lot of a ton of depreciation on the equipment, and it's a huge tax advantage for us. And so my partner and I, we bought that really to be able to funnel our own business through there, one. And so then the first thing we did was we went and sponsored the local REI meet, REI Central. So we sponsored that, and so we get a chance to speak at all the meetings. And so my guy that runs that for us, he's there every first Thursday. And so that was a big thing, was getting all those people converted. Say, hey, listen, you can go spend your money with Big Red Box or Nature's Calling or Republic, or whoever the other competitors are, or you could spend it with somebody that's in your same circle, that's spending money on you guys to be here. And so we got a ton of those folks converted over, and they helped us really grow the first year, kind of stabilize things for us, and then we've naturally and organically grown to now servicing a lot of other regular clients and some monthly services and stuff of that nature. So I took my Lowe's sales rep. He got me to be the #1 commercial account in all of the Tri-County area as a fix and flipper. And I said, well, if you can do that, because I was funneling everything through him thinking he was getting this huge commission.
Yeah.
Well, Lowe's is only paying him like a $200 or $300 commission. I was like,
Oh,
bro, you should
really?
be getting like thousands. We're spending $1 million a year at Lowe's. And so I said, if you can get us to that, I said, you need to come run my dumpster business. I said, this will give you a better quality of life. You're not driving in at 6 in the morning, getting home at 6 at night, missing all your activities with your kids, or missing time with your wife. I said, you can work from anywhere. Obviously, you need to be available if there's an emergency or if you want to go take guys to lunch. I said, but your customer service is unbelievable. He's the one who answers the phone. He's the one building all the customer relationships, and it's changed his life. So,
Dude, let's talk about that, because when you go out and you try to find employees, usually there's a reason why people are searching for a job, right? Or why they're unemployed, right? Like, usually, I'm not talking market conditions. Obviously, that can change things temporarily. But you see people jumping from job to job, or you see somebody who's constantly on the market, trying to look for opportunities. Some of the best, like almost all the best hires, are people that I already knew,
right,
or somebody that knew somebody that I knew, right? Like, I asked a couple friends who I respected their work ethic and I respected their core values, and they aligned, and they weren't going to refer somebody to me that would put them in a bad position, right? Like Cameron. Cameron came from a couple of my best friends, people that I've done a bunch of business with before, and was referred to us because they knew who I was. They felt confident in my ability, right, to then offer a great career to camera, and then they weren't going to put somebody in front of me who wasn't qualified
Right.
or that they couldn't stand behind and say, hey,
Right.
this person's solid, that's going to try to, I don't know, rip me off or something. You know, my one of the other guys on my team, Jed, we went to high school together, right? He'd fall on a sword for me,
Right.
and is one of the most loyal people you've ever met. And,
Yeah.
like, you can't quantify that kind of
No.
stuff, right? You know these people. My COO, he's somebody that I co-wholesaled with for years, and I saw his work ethic, and I said, what is it going to take to get you to leave that retail job, similar
Yep.
to what you're talking about,
Yep.
and come and run my business as
Yep.
a COO? And it's usually people in your network that you already know, that you see have opportunities, you got good rapport with, you know what their core values are,
Yep.
and you just got to tap them on the shoulder and say, hey man, I think this is,
I think this is the right opportunity.
think about this,
Yep.
right? Like, hey, I just want to put it on the table, no pressure, one way or another. If you're ever looking to make some moves, I'd love to talk with you because, man, your work ethic is so powerful. And I think that then, transcribed to the employee who's in that role. How do they expose themselves to people like you or people like me who
Yeah.
can then create those opportunities for them? The reality is you do more than you get paid for to make an investment
Yeah.
in those relationships and into your future. You
Yeah.
know, you're always showing up with a good attitude. You're always smiling. You're always going above and beyond and doing the extra thing. And that gets noticed.
Yep.
You know, it's not something that's instantaneous that I went over and beyond today. I'm not going to do it tomorrow because nobody noticed me today. Dude, it's consistency over time, and good opportunistic people like you will acknowledge that, and then say, hey, opportunity's knocking. I want you to come and work with me, or
Yep.
come and partner up with me, or figure out a way to collaborate on things. And that's how you get ahead, man. That's how you create those opportunities in those situations.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, agreed. And so being able to have the structure of people like my guy Rick, and then we also had a project manager here who running all of our construction, and my wife has an assistant who checks on everything. We have obviously a whole team here, so that brought us to a point to where we said, this thing's kind of running by itself, which is exactly how we wanted it to get to at some point. And then we were at a mastermind, Chris Rude, your buddy.
Yeah.
And we were down there in March, and we were talking about STRs and all this stuff. And that was kind of our next focus, was going to be, let's look at doing some of that. So we ended up just looking at one in Carolina Beach. It was, ended up finding a motel or hotel, an inn. And we said, man, this is where we want to go.
Yeah.
Like, it's
got
perfect
scale
time.
on short-term rentals. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome.
And so we said, let's try that out. Something fun. It's nice to finally have the options to do whatever you want to do and not so confined or restricted, based on money. And our kids were in a good point to where, we had two. We had one in college, one that just bought his first home here, and we had two that were, getting ready to go into middle school, getting ready to go into high school. So if we're going to make a move, this is the time. And, kids have a huge bearing on what your life decisions are as an adult. It's a totally different than if it's just you and your spouse.
Right.
And so we ended up buying this in. We ended up, making an offer while we were at Rude's event, and wife flew down and closed the deal. And then a month later, one street over came available, and we negotiated.
Another motel?
Yeah. So this guy was asking $3 million. We ended up getting it for 2.3, and we're putting 500 or 600 into it, and it'll be worth 5 or 6 million after it's all stabilized and running as a short-term rental. So we felt that was a pretty good win. And then we doing some new builds, build to rent, and then we got a historic duplex. We got all kind of crap going on, but that ended up, just keeping the cash flow coming. But I was like, all right, let's start making some new relationships. So I started hanging out with Tim Vitale, who's a huge multifamily guy, and he's did, I don't know, 75 million in 15 months. And so he and I befriended each other and started hanging out, and we do what we call Water Wednesdays.
He's a North Carolina guy, right?
Yeah, so he's in Wilmington as well.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know he was in Wilmington.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought he was in Raleigh.
Yeah, so he and I go play pickleball a couple days a week and get out on the water, on Wednesdays if we can, and I attended his event at the Porsche thing in Atlanta, so that was cool. Meeting some other people that are doing triple net and multifamily and storage, and so that further opened our eyes to it. And so we've got our first storage unit under contract to close, and buying another inn in Chimney Rock, and just trying to create these long-term plays, and in the meantime still doing a couple flips here and there, just to kind of keep the cash flow coming. While those are all getting stabilized, and then figuring out what is our play in multifamily and stuff like that. So we're going to the College of Charleston game tonight with JD.
Nice.
And really, start just talking business and hoops and see where that goes.
It's
man.
a much smaller, there's so many investors across the country. It's not really that big of a network. It's a very tight network. People who are actually out there doing stuff and making some moves, and which is good, and it's dangerous, right? And, well, in a good way, I think, though.
Yeah.
It's good because as soon as you start doing something, you start knowing people, and you got access to a lot of resources, and people can vouch for you. And at the same time, if you screw somebody, dude, you are out, and it comes very quickly.
Yeah.
People will find out, don't do business with that guy. He's an
That's right.
asshole, or he'll rip you off, and they get spun out very, very quickly. So it's nice to know that there's at least a layer. There's still some people who come and go and are full of shit and whatever, but for the most part, you can get a pretty good understanding of who's solid and who's not.
I tell you, I met a guy last weekend, one of the most genuine people I've ever met in my life, Pace Morby. Mm-hmm. And I know you were.
I was with him on Monday.
Yeah, and I know you guys are doing some stuff, and
he'll be in Puerto Rico too.
This guy's just incredible, just a giver, giver, and a real dude. There's some people that as they kind of go up, they want to look down their nose at you. And that's just an ego thing. And then there's other folks that it's not really about the money anymore. It's about helping the next generation or helping whatever. And for folks that are like, all right, I'm good. I'm doing $1 million a year or whatever, and they're happy with that. And it's like I'm done. I'm fully retired. And I was like, well, what's the end game? It's like where do you find your peace? And for us, it's just a matter of just creating enough time to be there for our kids, when they need us to.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that we need to be helicopter parents. You've got young children, and you're in a really good position to when your kids are really financially need you there or really emotionally need you there.
Yeah.
You're not strapped to a job or commitment or whatever. It's like, hey, no problem. Be there tomorrow. Our daughter went to Clemson last year. It was her first year. She went there a year early, so she turned 17 the day she was supposed to move in. Of course, she tested positive for COVID. Oh, man. So we had the fifth wheel, and so I went up there and I stayed with her for 3 weeks. Didn't miss a beat. Was just able to be there. Phone's not ringing off the hook, and that's just a testament to building all the right systems, processes, having the right people that know. Don't call me.
Yeah.
We're sitting here hanging out. Your phone's not ringing.
Dude, that's cool. That's because everybody focuses on, let me go buy the car, let me go buy the toys, let me go buy what people don't prepare for is life happening like that, and that's what really, that to me, understanding the stability where, somebody, lost their kid. Hey, this happened to one of my best friends. The daughter was diagnosed with brain cancer a year and a half ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I said, hey, dude, if your job is not supporting you, leave. Yeah. I got you covered.
Yeah.
What do you need? 20 grand a month, dude? I'll cover it. You need to be with the family, and that to me is worth so much more than the vacations or the cars or the fancy houses or any of the other material things. Understanding that there's a safety net there where you could support somebody in really, really difficult, dark times. At least be a little bit of a light for them.
Yeah, it was a huge, not trying to relate death to COVID or missing out, but for her to be there a year early, that first week of college is when you're meeting
already intimidating,
right? And so you're missing all the we're having the first bash, all this stuff where you're meeting all these people and missing all of that, and then just kind of getting thrown to the wolves, and it was just nice to be there
for sure, man. And that's something that she'll always remember, and instill in her values as she grows up and eventually has a family and shows up that way. So let's talk about, you got 5 kids?
4.
4 kids.
4 and 5 dogs.
5 dogs, that's what it is.
1 wife.
1 wife, 4 kids, 5 dogs. Oh man. Kids range from 21 to 10?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the different personalities. My dad, I'm one of 4 kids. I have 3, but I'm one of 4. My dad's always like, I don't understand how you all grow up in the same household and have all different interests, right?
Right.
And go in all
Yeah.
different directions.
Right.
And, how does this even happen? It's like, nature versus nurture and all this stuff. And there's definitely, similarities in all of us. And there's differences in all of us. How do you navigate a lot of that kind of stuff? I know we were talking about your son who's here, and he's 13 years old and interested in doing things in business.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool because you're a business guy,
Yeah.
and you kind of lean into that.
Right.
But what about the kid who has no interest in being in business and just wants to, surf on waves all day, every
Right.
single day,
Yeah.
and make minimum wage just so they can go and do that? Like, how do you navigate all those personalities?
Yeah, so that last surf all day minimum wage, that's my brother, my youngest brother.
All right.
So he was like, I'm just trying to get through high school, and I'm moving to California, and he lives in Oceanside. He has a great job now. He is a AV guy for a company that they present your new drugs to the FDA. So if you created a new form of aspirin or something, you would hire his company. They'd put it all together and teach you how to present it. But he loves that life. I mean, he just is
Money in everything, by the way.
Yeah,
there's money in,
absolutely.
like
But
you can get in the middle, provide value for somebody
Yeah.
who doesn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
But no matter what the industry is, like there's money to be made. So.
And it worked out perfect. He's right across the street from the beach, and so be it. But for our kids, the oldest was a fight to get him to graduate high school, and when he did, he was instantly in the workforce, and he's doing really well for himself. Bought his first house at 21, and
It's amazing.
And he runs a window tint and vinyl wrap film company.
His own business?
It's for a guy currently,
Okay.
but he's strategizing on how to get out and do his own thing. So he's in a very niche business that you had to be extremely talented to have success, and he's extremely talented in it. So he's really good at working on cars and different stuff. He flips cars, and then our 18-year-old.
So he's got some entrepreneurial
Yeah.
spirit behind that,
Yeah, yeah.
and that he's still doing some side hustles and has some other things that he's doing on the side of doing that full time. That's pretty entrepreneurial.
And then the 18-year-old, like I said, she graduated high school a year early, and so she's been up at school, and she's just like over it. She's done. She's the top leasing agent. She's a leasing agent at the apartment complex she works for, and she's the #1 leasing agent in the company. They have 10 complexes or something. I'm just like, what do you want to do? And she's extremely book smart, very intelligent, but she's socially immature. So she just needs some more life experiences. And so for us, as we continue to add doors,
Which is fascinating because leasing's kind of like a interpersonal
Yeah.
role, you
Right.
know?
so hopefully that's fast tracking this
Yeah.
maturity thing.
Yeah.
And people trying to incorporate family and business and working with friends, and I've tried working with my sister, it didn't work out. Tried working with another brother, but these things kind of just run their course. And my other brother, he runs our wholesale division, so that's challenging at times working with family. I have a strained relationship with my parents. I don't really speak to them. They think what we're doing is some sort of Ponzi scheme, or I'm going to have to bail you out, or I'm like, listen, don't be mad at me because you're still working at 65. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's those hard conversations that kind of cross the line or create tension. And as you
Back in the day when hard work meant
man.
working with your hand, I actually had to work hard.
Yeah,
Right?
I need more money. We got to work harder.
Yeah,
What?
well, I work smart.
Right, exactly. And so that's kind of created some tension there.
Yeah.
But
I think the thing with family is, and friends, right? A lot of times we want it more for them than they even want it for themselves,
Yeah.
right? Like a lot of times they come and work with you because they need it.
Yeah.
And you're trying to create an opportunity for somebody who needs an opportunity. Kind of going back to the person who's always jumping between jobs and
Right.
consistently unemployed, or like you try to do a favor for somebody and you want it more for them than they want it for themselves.
Yeah.
And I remember, doing I'm talking with my sister right now. My sister runs hotels up in Ohio. I'm looking at buying this farm locally here that does event rentals and short-term stuff and all this other jazz, right? And so I'm talking to my sister, but I'm at least mature enough now where I'm not, where I'm not concerned with having difficult conversations, and also putting a little bit of arms. Say, hey, listen, here's what it is. You're going to go through the application process the same way everybody else is. You're going to interview the same way everybody else is. I'll get your name into the deck,
right.
right? But I'm not going to give you the job. You have to earn it
Yeah.
yourself, Hal.
Yeah.
And then you got to get trained. You got to have a good attitude,
Right.
and you're going to get measured. Your performance will be measured on a consistent basis. And if you don't perform, then you get flagged. And that's how we do business, right?
Yeah.
This isn't about you, because if I hire you and you adversely affect the company, it then adversely affects all these other jobs, all these other occupations, all these other people's families and livelihood.
Right.
If you don't do your job, my job, I go back to like. I think Marines is, or maybe it's the SEALs. Yeah. Anyways, it goes mission, team, then individual.
Yeah.
Mission, team, individual. And so, I think when we hire family and friends, we're focusing on the individual.
Yeah.
Right. And there's 2 levels above that.
Yeah, that are
right?
suffering.
Hey, here's what has to be accomplished,
Right.
because the mission is more important than any one of us. It's even more important than the team as a whole. It's like accomplishing the mission is number 1.
Yeah.
Then the team. And then we can go down to the individual
Yeah.
level and start talking about your personal issues or personal problems. But like, if that priority isn't set and that expectation isn't there, then they're always focused on the individual stuff and say, hey, this is bigger than you.
Right.
And I'm telling you this because I care about you, and I don't want you to, and I don't want to sour the relationship.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's, another reason why it's good to have a bigger business is as you get there. Now you got the HR person.
Yeah,
they go and talk to the HR person
They're
or
the
the
filter.
COO, or right.
Right.
And it's not me making the decision. Like, I can open the door. You got to go and earn your way through.
Yeah.
A seat at the table kind of a thing. So, that's definitely something I think a lot of us have been through, is working with friends, working with family, trying to figure out a role for them. And candidly, I've had people in my team that were the good people, the good workers, but I had them in the wrong seat.
Right. Yeah.
Because I didn't understand the psychology behind different behavioral
Right.
types in different types of roles in the organization. So I had the right person in the wrong seat, so it looked like they were a failure, and I'm blaming that person. But the reality is, it was my fault because I had them in that wrong seat,
Right.
and I needed to move them over. And then all of a sudden, they're a shining star once I get them in the right seat
Yeah.
in the organization. And so, again, being aware of that and seeing somebody's work ethic, and then seeing them come in and just figuring out how do you put that. And having those candid conversations on a regular basis, right? Like, we did year-end reviews, and every time I do a year-end review, I'm like, shit, I need to do these like every 3 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because things can fester
Yeah.
over 6, 12 months. Like, if you hit it in the head, then it doesn't become a story in their head and story in your head of why things are getting contentious or things are not getting done. And then you let that build up, and all of a sudden there's just no coming
Just
back
an
from it after a
implosion.
year.
Right. From some story they've told themselves.
Exactly. That's made up,
Right.
Or a story that I've told
Right.
myself that's made
Right.
up.
Right.
And it just goes in 2 different directions, and
Yeah.
you get too far away, you can't bring it back together.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of, the once you start building the team, and that's a hard part of
Yeah.
building a business.
Right.
It's the hardest part, because it's like, okay, hey, we can make money, we should be focused on this, but like, I don't know, getting everybody rowing in the same direction
Right.
can be very, very difficult if you're not setting those expectations, or you're not measuring performance, or putting the right people in those right seats. There's a lot of moving parts, and that's how you get to that
Yeah.
8-figure level
Yeah.
of doing business. So, no, it's good, man. So tell me a little bit more about, go through the kids. So
Okay.
kid number
So-
2 is
She's still in school.
she's still in school,
She's ready to be done with
ready to
school.
be done with school though.
And so as we're adding more doors and more hotels and inns and different things that need management, it's been good for her to be kind of in the real world and working with people that she may or may not like. And eventually we would love to have her kind of be part of what we're growing. If that, like you said, if it works, cool. If it doesn't, hey, at least you had the opportunity.
And I like, you're not pushing her, right? And I kind of like her going and working for somebody else, because now she's got something to compare it to when she comes to your organization,
Right.
And she could say, hey, here's a couple things that they were doing right over there that we could be doing better.
Right.
Or, wow, that was an absolute shithole. My parents really have it figured out, and I have something to be thankful for,
Yeah.
right? That's why I usually don't hire people straight out of school, because they don't understand how good they got it
Yeah.
with my organization, right?
Right.
Like, I need them to understand and have something to compare it
Eventually,
to.
I guess, yeah, take some lumps.
And then you come over here and you're like, wow, we got it pretty good. We got a
Right.
good lifestyle. We got good comp plan. We have fun and amazing culture.
Yeah.
And like, that doesn't exist everywhere. You know?
Well, like last summer when we first bought the inn, we said, hey, we would love for you to be a part of learning what it's going to take to run this. And part of that is starting with the cleaning service. And so she's, super OCD about making sure everything looks great, and had her work with some of the cleaners, and she's like, that person's awful, they're not doing this and this and this. And then at the end of the summer she said, I thought this whole job was going to be, I was going to learn how to run a hotel. And we said, well, that's just one phase of it, is the cleaning of them and how to set them up on Airbnb or set them up on the website and all these other things. Those will kind of come, but college kids' summer is only a few months. But so yeah, she's doing that. And then my son, who is here, he's missing a day or two of school, simply for the exposure to all we have going on while we're here in town. And I told him, so this is a business trip. This isn't we're sleeping in till 10. We're going to get up your normal time, if not earlier, and we're going to go meet about what you got going on, and then we're going to meet obviously with you, and we're going to get with Chris on utilizing credit and all that stuff, and also go to a local apparel company and teach him about what branding himself really is, and part of that is figuring out what the image you want to put out.
Yeah. And
then we're going to get with Ryan Groney tomorrow for lunch, talk about RV parks and some other stuff, and what else? We're doing all types of things.
I love it. And it's like, well, you're taking your kid out of school. How could you do that? The reality is, what you learn the next 2 days, you get more value out of that than 6 months of school, right? Not to disparage school at all, but the reality is, like, what are you going to get in, I don't know, how many days are in a school year? 200 days or something like that? What are you going to get in 200 days of school that you couldn't get in 198 days of school?
Absolutely.
And 2 days doing this, or 2 days a quarter, doing this.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I have that conversation with my wife. I'm like, just take the kids out of school for a month. Well, we're going to get these nasty letters that we took them out for a month. Hey, then we go homeschool for a month,
right? And
then we'll put them back in a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and that's how we started this year.
Yeah.
We started when we moved. We said, all right, we're going to put them in homeschool. So we hired a lady who was looking to just kind of fill her time. So we did it Monday through Thursday, 8 to noon. And so they had all afternoon free, and they're supposed to do field trips, and ended up, just, it's one of those things, like, if you're going to do homeschooling, my experience has been, start it when the kids are early, not when they're used to having the social interaction and the exercise and the structure of public school system. So we ended up putting them in a little bit late, and it's been great. We got to meet some new friends.
Are you liking it? You like it better than going to school? How come?
Homeschool?
Yeah.
Not really. Not much of a social life.
Oh, so you do miss going to school and having the social aspect
so
of it?
he's back in school now.
Oh, okay.
But we'll evaluate at the end of the year and say, hey, do we want to go to high school, or do we look at doing homeschooling, but maybe a different program that has some more interaction? So,
well, I mean, yeah, the thing is that there needs to be the social interaction. I mean, that's what, us growing up,
right.
It was like, I don't know, the weird kids who wore all black and had long hair and like ran around without shirts on the side of the road. Like, those were the homeschooled kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I was like, oh man, so there's like this connotation to it. But the reality, especially being in the entrepreneurial world, there's a lot of people who are entrepreneurs who have their kids homeschooled. And I think about that, I'm like, you can control the influences, right? Like, you can control the narrative, you can control the bad influences, and make sure that it's good influences. You can hang out with other entrepreneurs and their kids, right? Like, you guys are social. We're very social. Like, it's not like my kids are going to be mutes or something if we homeschool, because we're always hanging out with Caleb and their kids, and all these other folks. And then the other thing is, like, I don't know. Yeah, you can read about Italy in a book, or we can go there.
Let's just go there, right? Exactly.
We can read about the national parks in a book, or we can go and take an RV around the country for 2 months and visit every single one. And part of their homeschooling is doing a book report on it, like, write an essay on each one. That's a one-pager of the biggest takeaways and lessons learned, and diary, like, you can give them actual life lessons in doing that, and real exposure that then creates a more cultured person, right? Like, you're actually going to be better socially, because now anybody that you meet from anywhere around the world, you meet somebody who traveled to Italy or vacationed to Italy or is Italian, you could say, hey, I went to the wine region or the olive region and pressed olives and made my own oil because of, oh my gosh, that's where my family's from that region, Like, and all of a sudden you can associate and build rapport with anybody from anywhere because you've given your kids those experiences. So I think it's profoundly more, like, I'm a kid from a blue collar town in Cleveland, Ohio, that had 1,200 kids in my school, and there were 2 black people, right? And then I went to a college that had more girls named Kate than they had minorities. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I was a very, I don't know, just kind of like in a bubble until I was 22 years old, and I moved to New York City, which is a complete culture shock for a kid like me. And so it's, I don't know, what if I was, exposed to more cultures and more ideas and more different types of food in different parts of the country and the world. Like, I just think that's so good, and makes you so much more approachable, right?
Yeah.
And conversational in any situation. So,
Well, that's kind of, that's how we got here today. We got here in our RV. So we drove down from Wilmington in our 40-foot bus, and we just pulled up in the parking lot. And tonight we're going to park at the Battery and make the most of it. But
love it.
My brother's moving to Tahoe for the summer, so part of this summer is let's take the RV and drive cross country and go hang out in Tahoe, and a couple stops along the way. But they kind of touch on your upbringing. Mine, I grew up on James Island, when it was 6,000 people. I don't know what it is now, but it's crazy. I remember riding across the connector on my bike before it opened.
Grew up 60,000 at least now.
At least. But grew up playing basketball and played at James Island, and went on to play in college, and lived on Sugar Mountain for 4 years. And that kind of changed my trajectory as far as just getting a job and then coming back and giving 13 years of my time to coaching high school basketball. So 3 or 4, I guess it's closer to 4 years ago, we decided it's time for us to make some decisions for ourselves, and our kids are getting older, so time to pour our energy into our kids now. And we really influenced a lot of kids coming up, and that was just kind of one of the things, was you got to experience playing college sports and just traveling the country, but it's not nearly the same as being an entrepreneur and doing it with your own kids, and exposing them to all those different experiences when money's not really a subject.
It's powerful, man.
Yeah.
What about your 4th child? Girl, right?
That's a little boy.
Little boy.
So he's 10. He's probably about as big as Cameron, and he's a different one. So he's a processor, but he really loves Army men and just all types of anything military. So it's kind of crazy because the older 3, they're all kind of entrepreneurial spirited, and then the youngest, he's very into any type of military or SEALs or any of that stuff. So we'll kind of see where his journey kind of takes him, but he is definitely the baby and requires a lot of one-on-one time, and very quick to start trouble with his brother here, and then play the victim. But but that's,
I know what that's
fine.
like. I know what that's like.
He might be with us till he's 30 years old, so we'll see. But
well, I mean, there's different behavioral types, and understanding that not everybody, like, entrepreneurs are 3% of the population.
Right.
It's not like it's a normal thing. If you have your kids growing up wanting to be an entrepreneur, it's a much less likely scenario than them wanting to go, do something else. And so, it's fast. Obviously, they're probably much more likely if they grow up in an entrepreneurial household. But I think the key is just exposing them to as much stuff as possible, and then letting them figure out what they like, and then leaning heavily into that, and give them all the resources in order to be the best at whatever the hell that they want to do. It doesn't matter what they want to do. To me, right? Obviously, as some legal, moral, ethical, we want it to be that. But for the grand scheme of things, like, I just want them to be happy. I want them to pursue excellence in whatever they do pursue, right? Don't half-ass anything.
Right.
Be respectful, be confident, and just be your best. You don't have to be the best, but, embody doing your best and being the best that you can in any situation that you're in.
Well, our daughter, kind of touch on that. She trying to figure out where, what's the next thing. So she's like, I'm gonna make these earrings. I'll sell them on Etsy or eBay or whatever. And she sent out some, whatever she had just made to the whole family, and 3 or 4 people. Oh, I'll take them. What's the discount? I said, wrong answer. I said, if you're gonna support her, you're gonna actually say, I'm gonna pay you extra. I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna actually give you extra. I'm not looking for no damn discount. So I'm gonna buy the whole thing. So just try to nip that in the bud and let them know, hey, listen, if you're gonna support her
Yeah.
the right way,
Right.
not trying to get a deal.
No,
So,
you're right, man.
you know.
And it's a mindset piece,
Yeah.
right? It's like, well.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's important to do business with people that obviously support your family.
Yeah.
And I'm always doing business with people that do business with me.
Right.
Like guess what? My mortgage broker, I send hundreds of millions of dollars of business to.
Yep.
He makes millions of dollars, right? Can you come be part of the mastermind? Pay me $1,000 a month and just be part of the mastermind and contribute to everybody else.
Right.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
Right.
And that's an easy conversation. My CPA wrote him a check for $180,000
Yep.
to do our taxes for all of our entities last year. Hey, will you come and join the mastermind?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm busy. I got this. Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
okay.
am I. I'm busy talking to other CPAs
That's right.
to send them $200,000 of friggin' business.
Right.
Whoa.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Like, dude, you shouldn't have to talk somebody into doing business with you that you're already doing business with, or you're close family with, close friends with. You should just be there to support those people.
Well, also on another note, just it comes like people see what you're doing, just like you talk about your mortgage broker. One of my mortgage brokers who does an abundance of our deals. He says, hey, listen, I want to get into it, but I don't really have the time and this and that, but I do have some capital I'd like to put into work. Do you have somewhere to place it? I said, absolutely. I said, it's just those conversations come just organically, and it wasn't like I was, asking for money or anything like that. It was just say, hey, I see you got this and this going on. How can I get involved? And then you have the conversation. Are you looking at, you're looking to get paid monthly, quarterly, roll it in, type of interest rate? Do you want equity?
Yeah.
I mean, all those conversations, and they just become easier the more confident, more experienced you have, and if you're just a genuine person, and don't just try to blow smoke and create something that you're not. People resonate with that. People want to do business with people that they like, know, and trust.
Yep. Absolutely, man. Well, dude, this is a great convo. It went real long, but it was such a good convo. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for being here, man. Just excited for you've done so much cool stuff, and I feel like it's just setting you up for something even bigger, even better. Like, you've already had so much success and so many experiences in business, and I feel like it's all like culminating into one thing right now that's going to be like just take it to multiple other levels beyond where you even are already. So it's exciting to see. It's excited to be a part of it, man. I appreciate you being part of the community, and just excited to watch the growth over the next couple months.
Well, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Hey, hope you guys got a ton of value out of that. Do me a favor and put the biggest takeaway in the comments. Hit the like button. It always helps the algorithm and gets us more eyeballs. And if you would, share this, with anybody who you think it would really, the message would correspond to, and would get a lot of value out of that. So appreciate you being here. Until next time, I'll see you guys on Spill the Beans.